Still on the matter, we're now joined by the National Mobilisation Officer of the Education Rights Campaign, Michael Lenin. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, Michael, I'm going to start off by asking, how do you assess the impact of Nigeria Labour Congress threat of the nationwide protests on the country's social as well as economic stability?
Thank you very much for that. We are very much familiar with the labor movement, and we know that clearly, anytime labor is on strike, it's like the whole nation is on standstill. And that is why for many of us as activists, we always urge the Nigerian labor leadership, to do the needful by, at every point in time, standing in the interest of workers. And we've had many threats issued by the labor movement, many statements. But the reality is that many of them have come to be empty, because we have not really seen the practicality in many of the threats they've issued in the recent period. In fact, they've issued threats about welfare of workers. They've issued threats. At some point, some month ago, it was on the tariff of calls and data and so. So we've had many threats that have not really been translated into concrete action. So that what we expect from a serious labor movement, especially at this point in time, where many workers have been victims of the horrific living condition on the basis of the policies of the government. We expect that threats, labor by now should have gone beyond issuing threat, and so it should be how to confront the government on basic issues that affect our workers.
So I want to believe that some of these labor actions are the labor organizations' ways of confronting, the government, right? But let's look at what led to these labor actions in the first place, and that is the, the rising cost of living, the insecurity, the unemployment. What are the implications of these challenges, of these menaces in the society on the labor market?
Well, I think for every Nigerian, it is clearly visible. In the last 2 years, when the administration of Tinubu started unleashing its attacks on Nigerians, starting with the removal of fuel subsidy, without any attempt to make the refinery, the public refinery, functional or even build new ones, and we've seen how it directly created a crisis in the lives of many average people today. In fact, if you ask many Nigerians how their lives have fared in the last 2 years, many of the responses will be in the negative, that lives have become so horrible. In fact, you just need to take a walk to any market and ask random people that what is even their condition. They will explain to you in reality that things have become worse. And there are always, there are a lot of stats to back up these are calamities that Nigerians are facing. If you look at the rate of inflation, you see that they are at very abysmal rates, and they continue to decline. Unemployment and other indices to measure growth and economic development are all in the negative in the last 2 years. Of course, before now, long before now, we've had a lot of crises for now. But what we are saying is that on the basis of the new to these policies of the government, but most of that we've gone from a bad situation to a worse situation. So that clearly, for many working class and average people, their lives have gone worse in the last 2 years.
So I'm very curious as to the veracity of some of these labor actions, because over time we've heard that this body is going on strike, this one is going on strike, and after a while you hear that there was a closed door meeting and this one's went back on their agreement to actually go on strike. So there's sometimes a lot of disunity in the body when it comes to the labor unions. So how then can we trust that these people are true to the cause, that they would actually fight until they're heard by the government, and there would be no distractions or closed-door meetings that would make them go back on their words?
Well, thank you. What you just explained now is also the concern of many Nigerians, especially many of us who are on the front line of the battle against the government, is that many times that labor movement to call action, sometimes even before they commence the action, even before meetings or so, they will just call it off. Okay. I mean, the last protest they had, which was meant to hold for 2 days. I mean, after the first day, they declared that all of that they fulfilled their motive of calling for the protest itself. And then we asked them, what has been fulfilled? Is it that lives have become better for Nigerians? Or is it that all of the demands that you raised to the government, have they even been able to meet any of them? But that was because of just a single meeting with the government, with the government, just as you've explained. So that there's a crisis itself in the leadership of the labor movement. But it must also go beyond this. Because what we are talking here is about the lives of Nigerian workers, millions of workers who are victims of this crisis. So that our own call is that workers themselves must take the initiative to hold their leadership accountable. If I mean, you cannot just hear that there's a strike today and then the next hour you hear that someone has declared as a cause of the strike. Just a single person to determine the fate of millions of workers. No, that itself should not be encouraged. Nigerian workers must, at different levels, either at the branch level, at the state level, and different apparatus of the labor structure, should hold their leaders to account to ensure that when our strike are called, they are truly implemented. Because, and we take this example from ASUU. President ASUU has declared the strike. And anytime ASUU declares strike, even if they hold any meeting with the government, they always go back to their members to seek for the opinion that, okay, this is what the government is saying. What should we do? What is the next step to be taken? So that the labor leaders themselves must follow this example, which is what has made ASUU to be one of the most potent unions that we still have out there today. So that the issue itself goes beyond just the leadership, who in most cases have demonstrated different intention that they are not truly ready to follow up their call concretely. So that like I said, the call itself is on Nigerian workers to not just support radical movement and also support initiative outside of the official labor leadership, but to also hold their leaders to account. So that, because if you're in a country where people just do as they wish, if I shows that just few persons can compromise and make compromise that will affect the lives of thousands and millions of persons. So the call is on us, because if you go back and forth, the crisis still affects many of us, many young workers, many poor workers, many average workers today. They are the real victims of all of these crises too. Because if you look at the lifestyle of many of the labor leadership today, sometimes it's even not connected to the lives of the average worker of today. For many of them live like government officials. So that it is the poor people who go to market, who know how much they spend from their monthly pay at the market, who know how much they pay as school fees of their children, who know how much they pay as rent, and who know that these figures are not in a way corresponding to what they earn. It is their own, in fact, it is their call to hold their fate to their own hands and ensure that either strike action, either protests are being implemented.
All right, National Mobilization Officer of the Education Rights Campaign, thank you so much for joining us, Michael Lenin, to share your thoughts. And I'm hoping that this is not like status quo. It's not like how we used to have it before, where they'll come out with all fire, guns blazing, and say that they want to go on strike, and after a while they go back on their words. Not to encourage strike, but what needs to be done needs to be done. So Thank you so much for joining us.